Well, first of all, I would probably say that it was one of the best experiences of my life to listen to a people struggling to know God. The Amazons and the people who are there, I think often of my own life. When I grew up as a Catholic, we had 7 priests in our parish. I met people who go to Mass maybe once a year or once every 2 or 3 years they see a priest. The church at the same time is very vibrant. It depends on the local people many times in small villages and small towns to come together and to listen to the Word of God and learn how to put the Word of God into practice each and every day in their lives. To me, it was a great example of what the Church calls us all to do as baptized lay people, to teach and to live the Word of God in the world today. That was one of the greatest things it taught me. Here was a people that actually puts this into practice. I met priests and bishops. I met bishops mainly who had been working in the Amazon for over 30, 40 years. And their whole life has gone from one village to the... They depend, and they will tell you, that their greatest assets are the lay people who live in those small villages and who bring the people together, the head of the community, the chief catechist, who bring all these people together. The one thing that they want to have is the Eucharist. They do not have priests to celebrate the sacraments. And that is their greatest, I would say, on a spiritual level, their greatest suffering, their greatest pain. Environmental integration is not something that has just been invented. That dates back to the very first book of Genesis, where God created the whole world and He saw that it was beautiful and great. What does this integral conversion mean? It means that we have to go back to relationships, a relationship with God, a relationship with each other, so necessary in today's world, where we don't treat each other as brothers and sisters in the world. There is tension among people that is beginning to grow more and more evident. The division of classes is more evident than ever before. The constant upheaval and the constant rejection of one group of people versus another is becoming more and more evident. The Gospel calls us to come together as in this integral conversion, whereby we treat each other with respect and with dignity, that we are all in this world together. The world is not divided up into different compartments. God did not create man and woman and put them there. He put them in a garden, which is the world. And we depend on that forest, in the case of the Amazon. We depend on that for our lives. We depend on that to breathe. The oxygen that we breathe in every moment of our lives comes from there many times. And we have to have that relationship of love and respect that we need to have with our brothers and sisters. We also need to have with God's creation, which is the world and the earth. And this care for God's creation, our common home, is essential in our lives. And we need to go back into the world of education, into the world of our Christian preparation and our Christian teaching, our pastoral care. Our pastoral care includes all of God's creation, includes the human person, and includes the nature that we enjoy and we look at, we need to take care of it. It is not forever unless we care for it. The book of Genesis will tell us we have an obligation to take care of God's creation, of God's garden. That's what it is. It is renewing the relationship that God wished that we would all have. A relationship with God, a relationship with each other as brothers and sisters, and a relationship with all of God's creation. And that's what it asks of each one of us. I would say the thing that most inspired me was speaking with the indigenous people in many of the Círculo Minore, in other words, in the study groups, and to listen to their experience in life and compare it to the experience that we have in life. It was very interesting to hear how they, in fact, craved. Some of them actually participated in the celebration of the Eucharist more times in 1 month than they have in the last 20 years of their lives. And it's not because they didn't want to, it's just they don't have the availability. They don't have the possibility because there is nobody to celebrate the Eucharist. It is interesting to see how we become so accustomed to this gift of God that we take it for granted. We in Rome, we walk by churches, it's 1 block long, but that's 5 churches down to the traffic light. There are no churches, there are no priests to celebrate the Eucharist. But what most impressed me was the desire of these people to know and to do. They accept the gospel, they understand the gospel, and they translate it into their common language every day. It was we take everything that's already done for us. These people struggle. They have a Bible. They have to translate the Bible into their own indigenous language. Can they do that? And they teach each other. And to me, it was a great inspiration to see exactly how the early church must have been. What was it like when we were here in Rome 2,000 years ago, when when Peter and Paul were walking the streets of Rome with some disciples? What is it about them that really changed the city of Rome into a Christian city at the time? What did they do? That same spirit, in my opinion, was alive and well in many of those indigenous people that were here. They have a love for the faith, and they preach it every day, and they go from village to village, and they're with their friends. They don't have a structured church like we do. They don't have, want to talk to a priest, pick up the telephone and call him. That doesn't exist. And so I guess it was the fact that they remain and they continue to believe in God and in the Word of God despite the difficulties. Whereas we give up. And yet we have all the means to help us to live it. That was the greatest thing that inspired me.